Welcome to week 7 of the Cross-Platform Journalism course, and this week we're talking about how to take your stories and photography and anything else you've created to supplement a news story or be a news story. We've spoken about the power of infographics, the power of single image shots, creating things like a lolcat type image, as well as traditional words and photography, and obviously video as well, and audio. And we're going to talk about how to put them into platforms and channels that may work well for expanding your reach as a journalist and also the reach and influence of your story. And this week we're going to talk about sites like Dig. I've put Dig first just because it's the most common one that most people know of. But news is no longer, as we know, the realm of the BBC, the Washington Post, even the likes of the Huffington Post and so on, which is seen as a modern media setup. And there's sites like Dig where people come in themselves, post stories, and are then voted up or down. You may say liked, you may say voted, but the essence is it's journalism by the people for the people. Now that doesn't mean they're going and writing the stories, but they're finding the links, they're posting the links and sharing the links. For example, here we've got links from Ars Technica, and I couldn't even tell you what the 3 sites under it are, but this is what you find at the moment if you go to dig.com. So the idea is that this is news people are going, oh, this is interesting, I'll put it out there. And you may be asking, well, what makes these people qualified to say what's interesting or not? And the answer is they're not. This is very much a democracy journalism. And you may be going, well, hang on, I don't know if I like that, because on the one hand, you've got that argument of public interest and people saying, well, just because it's popular doesn't mean it's newsworthy. Similarly, just because something's newsworthy doesn't mean it's popular. But the challenge for you in this day and age is to find perhaps a niche that may be of use or maybe of interest. And similarly, there is no denying the impact that something like being on the front page of somewhere like Dig can have for your story. Other popular sites include Slashdot. Slashdot has been so popular that there's a phrase when people say a website has been slashdotted. And what this means is that a link has appeared on Slashdot, and so many people, because Slashdot is such a popular site, have clicked on it that they've brought the website down. Not out of any malicious action, they've just brought it down by sheer volume of people visiting the website that the server can't cope, and it's crashed. The most popular site of this kind at the moment is Reddit. And as you can see here, it's a fairly straightforward setup. People submit a link, may have a picture with it, off you go. People leave comments, people vote it up or down. There's nothing hard to it at all. If you go into reddit.com, at the top it will say something is hot. It will tell you if something's new, something's rising, something's controversial, the top stories of all time. A lot there to look at. And again, it gives you an idea of what people may be interested in. And what makes Reddit so popular at the moment is the fact that it has a lot of subdomains called subreddits. And if you just type in at the top that where it says what are you interested in, that will give you topics for many things. There's topics of journalism, investigative journalism, data journalism. And if you're thinking of sharing stories, this is a great way to do it because you get 2 hits with the one tail. You can post it, let's say you're writing about Syria, you can post it to journalism. You may also be able to post it to war journalism. You can also post it to Syria, topical affairs Syria. There are a lot of subreddits, as they're called, which is basically just news categories for you to post your links into. One of the more popular ones is called AMA, and it means Ask Me Anything. And as you'll see here, it's basically people going on and saying, I am a, and it's worked out nicely. You've got I am a this, ask me anything. For example, there's one at the top that is from Bill Gates. There's been ones from astronauts, from journalists, and if you're a specialty in a niche, you can go in there and say, Amma, ask me anything, and see what questions are thrown at you. One thing to bear in mind is that there's no moderation to this. Anyone can set up an Amma. You're not going to the founders of Reddit to say, please set me up with this. You go and do it yourself. And again, if you've built your own brand online, you'll have more people coming to join in with that. Now, how do you post something on something like Reddit? It's an absolute breeze. That's the front page of Reddit, and as you'll see there from the right hand side, you can submit a link, which is just, here's a link, here's what I think's interesting about it. You can create a text post if you just want to rant, or you can even go and create your own community, also known, as I've said, as a subreddit. And you can say, I don't think there's something that I'm interested in. Sorry, there's something I'm interested in, but I don't think there's a subreddit for it. Here you go. And off you go and create it and populate it with content, tell other people about it, and see what effect it has on your online influence. When you go to submit something to Reddit, that's all you have to do. Put in a title, put in the URL, choose a subreddit. And if you're not even sure of the title to have with it, put the URL in first, click suggest title, and Reddit will give you one automatically. It's a very hit and miss process, so I would always say pick one of your own. But choose a few subreddits to put it to. Now the ones there are just the most popular, and bear in mind millions of people are visiting this site a day. So you may think, well, hang on, I'm writing about Iraq. There's nothing there that ties in. That's absolutely fine. Just type in Iraq or the name of other subreddits and it's easy done. You click submit and you're away. There's not a lot to the process. Wikipedia. Some people don't think of this as a news aggregation source, but it very much is. And you can even see there from the front page that there's a dedicated news section, which we'll come back to in a second. But while many people say you can't submit your own material to Wikipedia, which is technically true, I don't think I'm revealing any confidences here when I point out that thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people do it. The trick is to just make sure you're not seen to be posting your own stuff all the time and you're not posting it under a login of your own. Is this ethical? Is this unethical? It's a big debate. I think as long as you're not putting something in of a bias or commenting directly on yourself, it's okay. If you're, for example, writing about David Bowie and you have an article that adds something to David Bowie's overall biography or Wikipedia entry, then jump into his page and leave it there. Go back and check and make sure it stays up, but also go through other sites and, add articles, edit things. Again, it comes down to how much time you can dedicate to building up your profile in each of these sites. As I've just mentioned, there's actually Wikipedia News, and as it says there, it's a news source that you can write, so you can put your news straight in there. You can add information. For people who don't like the Huffington Post setup, this is something you can do and put it in there. And even older sites like Quora, these are still forum sites and news aggregator sites, even if it's marketed itself more as a Q&A site. But it's a site that can still people search through it. It still gets traffic in the millions. It's worthwhile considering and putting material on there, or even looking to see if there's something of use to you. The whole trick to all of these sites is that you don't just go on and bombard your own material. You have to build up your community. You have to build up relationships with people so that if someone goes, oh, Craig's posted something, or oh, Craig's liked this, I'll go and see what he's done recently and see if there's anything I can like. And that takes time. There's no simple one-step win to this. If you're on Reddit a lot or Dig, that involves finding material that you like, clicking on it, perhaps subscribing to certain people when you see they're posting relevant material that's relevant to you, that is, on a regular basis, and just building up a network that way. It's very similar on Reddit. You click like, you perhaps like on what a person posts, and you keep going, rinse and repeat. And there are specialists now who spend hours a day just clicking on items to like them, to help build up their network, so that when they post likes, they know that people will like it up, and then the thinking being that other people will see this high up in Dig or high up in a subreddit and then go and look at it. Pinterest, to an extent as well, is nothing more than an aggregator site, but it's an aggregator of photography more than anything else, so bear that in mind if you're thinking of using it for what we're discussing here today. As I said, these are nothing new, and the rules are still the same as they were in the early days of the web and bulletin boards and IRC chats and so on. And it's just about putting information out there that's useful, relevant, and you liking or commenting on information that other people have put online. Nothing more, nothing less. What drives them? It's all people power, for better or for worse. Now, that may upset some people, the more journalistic purist, And unfortunately, it's the way it is. The idea is aggregating, the idea is shaping the news, and it's people power. And that's just to repeat what I'd already said. And here's what works, and this is what we've been talking about over the last few weeks. Strong content, asking questions, a mix of content, put pictures up, put videos up. And if you're chasing, the front page on the likes of Dig or Reddit, you need to get 30 or so likes or votes an hour for the first couple of hours. For the subgroups, if you can get 5 or so likes an hour for a couple of hours, then you should be laughing. That should be spotted by people, and then hopefully they'll go, oh, that's interesting, and pass it around their own forums and networks. But as I've said, it's not just about you. So build your own network, build your own contacts, like what others are doing. And if you think there's a good link to post somewhere, just you take that link and post it. Don't wait for someone else to do it. And tools that can make this easier are things called bookmarklets that save you cutting and pasting a URL. You just click a button in your browser and away you go. And the link you've put in there will show you the best bookmarklets to make life so much simpler for you in this area. Now, as the big emphasis here is on time you spend on looking at stuff and curating it and liking it and building your own little network, the task this week is fairly straightforward. Find something interesting on Dig or Reddit and share it. List some interesting subreddits. I'll create a forum to do so very shortly. And create a profile and spend some time on the sites. Don't go overboard. If you're thinking, I'm not going to have a lot of time for this, create one on Reddit and build your personality up there. Don't go into Reddit, Dig, and elsewhere. And all I want to see in the forum is just a couple of things you found interesting. You go, well, I write about this area a lot, so this is interesting to me. And bear in mind, if there's not one there for you already, there's nothing stopping you to create it. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with. And as always, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this and read the slides.